welcome to my atelier. Welcome to painting discourse. I would like to continue right away with things that we talked about last time, but before I go directly into it, I just wanna, for those of you who watch this for the first time, this is a ongoing project that I'm working on. It's called Cyrillic Method. These are two very famous Slovakian, or actually they're not Slovakian, they're from down south of the Europe, I would say, from the area where the Istanbul is right now. And these guys came to my country a couple hundred years ago, maybe even more than that. We can start counting in 1,000 and 1,000 plus. The important part is that what I want to talk about actually is that this is just a fragment that I'm working on right now. It's a study. I am trying to figure out certain things that I will deal later on with my actual large-scale painting. Even though this is a large-scale painting, it's just a fragment, so it's going to be way bigger. Most of the time in this painting discourse we talk about composition. It's very repetitive because I am making the same mistakes over and over and over and over again, subconsciously, not consciously, definitely subconsciously. I'm not really even thinking about that, and that's why I would like you to pick up a paper, pencil, I don't know, maybe canvas, maybe some brushes, some paint, watercolors, whatever you like. For you guys who love to paint digitally, just turn on the software of your preference and start working alongside me. Unless you're going to do this, you might find these videos extremely boring, because I've watched them myself and they are really boring. So this is the time for you, to tune up, with one eye, check and glance on what I'm doing right now. And I'm going to be talking a lot today. So get ready for it, because there's so many things that I would like to point out that are wrong with my painting. And not only that, I'm not going to talk about the things that are bad, because there's a lot of them, but I'm going to also try to propose certain suggestions. Most of these suggestions are going to be going to have like a kind of a philosophical nature. However, the only truth, the only way how to make sure that these ideas are working, is to actually sit down and either paint it or draw it or work on it. So even though I'm talking a lot about it, I really have to also execute these things. So yeah. Some of these adjustments that I'm going to do, you're probably not going to be able to see because they're minute. But if you watched my previous videos and the previous painting discourse, you could actually see how much the painting changed from one video to another, from one day to another. That's something very important that and I actually realized it myself only after a couple hours that I put in to recording this, that actually I'm not able to perceive myself these minute changes or nuances that I'm changing from day to day. But when I speed up the videos, it's actually very interesting, even for me, to look at how much that painting progressed, especially in terms of positions of limbs, right? The head and the portraiture, I remember that I had a lot of difficulties with setting up the cap that he's wearing. Also, incredibly difficult area was right here. I just couldn't fit it in, and I'm still not satisfied. I also mentioned multiple times that, and again, it's repetitive, and I'm sorry about that, but that's just the nature of painting, unfortunately, for me especially. One thing that I mentioned, like I said, is that whatever adjustments you make here, however small it is, it's going to relate not only things that are around it, that's like a immediate influence of that change, but it's going to change whole canvas. This is pretty straightforward, but it's very difficult to see it. And that's why you sometimes see me be here doing some little small details, and then I'm travel all the way back out of the frame because I'm looking from a distance. And I need to see my painting from a distance. The bigger the painting, the further away I have to stand. It's impossible for me to be standing right here with the, let's say, with the painting distance. If I grab a brush, I like to really stay as far as possible. I really love longer brushes because I can just be here and see things. Because when I'm painting here, this is not necessarily where I'm looking, or this is not only the area that I'm looking. When I'm placing a line right here, I'm looking here, 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 and here, and here. And the closer I am, the less area of my vision I have. The further away I'm standing, the more of the picture I can actually take in, and more the bigger square footage I can actually cover with my eyes at once. Unfortunately, I don't have brushes this big, or actually even bigger, that have 10 meters to go all the way back into my studio. So I have to look at it, I have to remember what I want to do, and then I'll just walk into it. I grab a brush and I do the adjustment, and then I travel all the way back. I look at it again, I do assessment, and then I ask myself, is it what I wanted to do? Is it very close to what I wanted to do, or it has absolutely nothing? It looks absolutely, let me rephrase that. It looks nothing like I wanted to. So, and if it looks nothing like I wanted to, I have my trusted palette knife or paper towel or some piece of cloth, and I'll just take it away. So that's something that that is very important. Another important part is that goes behind the scenes of even these recordings. I usually sit and I wouldn't say that I meditate. I'm looking at my painting and I'm analyzing it. I'm going step by step with my checklist that is in my head, and everything goes down to a proper composition. There is nothing for me personally that it's above the composition. I can sacrifice the proportions. I can sacrifice a perspective. I can sacrifice clear color. I can sacrifice a tone. I can sacrifice the size of the canvas. Whatever there is, I can sacrifice, or I can actually subdue that thing to composition. You remember last time I was talking about not liking clothes that is wearing figure on my right, or on the right of the canvas, and I wasn't sure what I am not liking about it. And I went in my head step by step, and I asked myself the questions. Is it the right color? Is it the right texture? Is it the right material? Is it the right shape? Does this piece of cloth describe what I want to communicate with my viewer? And if some of these checklists, some of these things from the list in my head do not work properly, or actually I will not check that box in the list, I will immediately go into it and start to analyzing it. from the point of view of composition. Is it better for composition? Is it improving the composition? It's improving, and when I say composition, I mean, is it improving the message that I want to communicate with the viewer or not? That's basically the never-ending question in my head, and I'm trying to get as close as possible to communicate the message that I want clearly and simply. Two things. I don't like overpowered, too many details, too many information, too many ideas. They're actually fighting for the attention of a viewer. I have one clear idea in this painting. That's when you think about it in terms of composition, I have a focal point, and the same thing, I have a focal point of the idea of the message that I want to communicate. Of course, there is a subtle shifts and little small secondary, tertiary ideas that I'm putting there to fill out the space, or to better or to create a better understanding or a little bit more convincing idea. But the focal point of the idea of this painting, it's language. I would say it's a language. And actually, to be more specific, the idea is how difficult it was for the language to get to where it is right now. And this is just a part, this is a start. So I'm thinking about the journey. How difficult the journey had to be, not only physically, but psychologically as well. And that's the focal point, that's the main idea. And then I will put some secondary and tertiary ideas or thoughts into it, but I have to stay clear. I absolutely must stay clear with the idea of the journey that they undertook to get here. So that's the written part of the composition of the idea. And right now, what I'm doing, I'm trying to translate it into a visual representation of that text. What happened lately is that I kind of realized that we're using language as our main tool. Therefore, we are not as skillful with reading visual images that are, working with certain ideas. And the reason being is that for some reason, I don't even know what you know what, discard what I said about the reasoning and about us not being able to read visual imagery that good. That thought, it's not constructed properly even in my head, and I think I'm right at the edge of my own understanding what I'm trying to say. So let's get back a little bit, and let's not get into really philosophical things. Let's rather focus on actual composition. So I have my clear idea. It's a journey. It's a journey of a language, and not only from point A to point B in terms of geography, but also a kind of evolution of that language. And I mentioned that I want them to look. In order to create this, I need to adjust certain things in my painting. So it cannot be, young, good-looking, fresh people, well-rested, ready to just, explore the world. These are seasoned travelers, in my opinion. They need to convey that struggle that they had, on that journey from point A to point B, and I like to relate this to that abstract struggle from creating the language and its journey to its destination. So that is actually something that relates to that dress. I found that dress not to be not only visually pleasing enough, but it did not communicate the information that I want to. Yes, you might see that this one either, but I know that I have a little bit clearer idea of what's going to happen here than here. And I fell into a trap of that sameness, which I mentioned multiple times, that I have a space right here, which is from here, the distance is from here to here. Then I have very similar shape here. Then I repeat it here, and then I have a same thing again. So I created four equally spaced columns, and it's the boring repetition. I know I mentioned previously, I tried to break it up with diagonal. It's starting to help, but then again, I realized that I created diagonal that is dividing into two equal halves, which is crazy, and I could not understand myself, like, what's wrong with that part. I did diagonal. I have different shapes. I have I have a difference between color temperatures, between values. I also have hard edges against soft and lost edges. I have a shadow. I have light. I have bright color. I have a little bit more desaturated color. And I went through the checklist in my head, and I realized, oh, there is a problem with the step one. And that is, if I create a division diagonal right here, it's going from corner A to corner, it's going from corner A to corner B, and it's splitting this column into exact two halves. It doesn't matter that it's splitting diagonally. I know that I mentioned the diagonals, help to move the composition. It's creating a little bit more drama. But in this case, I try to create drama only to immediately negate it with creating drama and making two exact halves, which I could. And this is a problem that when we create composition, we kind of feel that something is wrong, but we cannot really name that. And I cannot, I couldn't name it myself. I have to look at it. I have to analyze it. I have to repaint it. I had to open my books. I opened Rembrandt. I opened Velasquez. I opened Caravaggio. I opened Repin. I opened Surikov. I opened Serov, and I asked myself, and I asked them the same questions. And slowly, step by step, I analyzed the problem, and I found out that even creating adjustment like this created two exact compositional halves, even though I have a diagonal. How did I see that, you ask me? When did it really hit me? Because I created this line right here, and I separated these two exactly into the same parts. I have no idea why I did it. Well, actually, I do have idea why I did it. It's because my brain forced me to do it, because for my brain, it's easier to go, oh, from here to here, this is right into the middle. My brain doesn't need to think about it. Is it higher or lower? It doesn't need to remember anything else, that it's in the middle. That's it. And our brain is really forcing us to do these this shape and this column and this column and this column, because our brain loves it. Our brain, it's the best tool that we have in terms of it's a very famous it's a word that we overuse these days, especially in the business, and that's optimization. My brain optimized these separations, so it's easier for my brain to understand and see it. For my brain, it's great because I don't have to really think that deep into composition. But for a viewer, I just created four exact same shapes that are boring to look at, and I want exactly the opposite. I want to keep a viewer engaged with the painting. I want to keep him or her engaged with the message, with the idea, through the focal point, through the diagonals, through the rhythms, through the motions, through the, for every possible tool that I have in my skill set to keep him occupied and look and explore and, thinking about why this is going this direction, why is this here, subconsciously, so I need to grab attention of a viewer. So this is something that I really need to talk about, and this might again, like I mentioned before, these are rhetorical. That's not rhetorical questions. These are philosophical questions. Questions are philosophical, and answers are practical. It's really difficult to get into the habit of asking a question myself or my students. It doesn't really matter, and then answering it, not with a reply with words or ideas, but actual practical implementations. That's extremely difficult, and there's something I don't think that you can simply jump into it and know it. You have to hone that skill to be able to answer these questions with a skill rather than just with words, because after all, we are in the visual. We are in the genre when we work with one still image. So we're fighting with photography and maybe with digital painting right now. Yeah, and the photographies are really kind of a direct visual how would I even put this? Painting and photography are working with the same two-dimensional surface, and most of the time three-dimensional representation on two-dimensional surface. That would be probably the closest I can get with definition. So knowing all this, or actually, why am I saying all these things? Well, because again, my mistakes, diagonal, half and half, the same thing. Vertical, half and half, the same thing. The position of the figures, when I'm looking at it right here, it's almost exactly in the middle. So I created, and then I have the light spot right here, which is like a we laughed with my viewers before and the people that were in my studio, that these guys, because I created like these really big feet and they look like a hobbit. So if they are hobbits, this is the Eye of a Sauron. That's just because it's a centerpiece. So all the work with composition, movements, rhythms, yada yada yada, destroyed by me and my brain forcing me to divide it and split in halves. Split in the halves. I have only halves. I have a boring halves. If there is one, not even rule, if there's one thing that they will tell you in every photography, painting, any design class, it's the splitting things in halves. It's a wrong move. We're doing it in thirds, right? So actually, it's not wrong move. It has to be intentional. If I'm splitting something into halves and centralizing things, this was previously in history used specifically for Jesus, for God, for Mary, because they were kind of that was another thing that I did not have prepared, fully written down, or putting into words what I mean. But when you look at paintings of Raphael and the perfect geometry that they used in Renaissance, it actually derived from from previous Roman architecture, and they took it from previous Greek architecture, and according to some sources they get it from Egyptians. Who knows? And I don't want to go into conspiracies. Who knows where they get it from? Someone had to invent it. So that's that. And I did it in terms that it's not beautiful, but it's boring, because Raphael or Michelangelo or Leonardo da Vinci or David before them, a little bit before them, they mastered that divisions, and I'm not there yet. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not there yet, and my brain is forcing me to go the easy route, which then results with really mediocre painting, and I don't want to do that. I really want to create as good painting as I possibly can. So I'm not going to be satisfied ever, probably, but I might solve certain problems. So I talked about the halves, which I tried to create the rhythm, and I destroyed it with the repetition. And there's another thing that I would like to talk about, and that's, I believe that English word for that is tangent. And what I mean by that, probably every one of you who watch these videos know know that famous ceiling in Sistine Chapel done by Michelangelo, when God almost touched fingers with Adam. Very, very famous thing. Used multiple times everywhere. So these are two fingers, and they never touched. I'm pretty sure that he could make them touch, but he didn't. And the reason why he didn't, because this is a tangent, and he wanted to create a separation between them. And I believe when you look at his paintings together with God and Adam, that he put you into that space between those two fingers. And philosophically, and based on the information that I have about that, about his work and what he was trying to achieve, and stuff that was left, his writings after Michelangelo, it almost feels like that's that empty space that you're supposed to put yourself and ask yourself who you are, where did you came from, where are you going. That's the moment for you. Putting those fingers together, it would be just boring line. He created the separation. He created a tangent, but in the way that it works for him, not against him. I was looking at my painting, and I realized one thing, that I created tangent right here in that separation, that unwanted kind of a tangent. Why? Because when you look at those two figures, what I'm trying to achieve, it's three-dimensional feel on two-dimensional surface. I'm trying to say, or I'm trying to convey the idea that these figures, it's a little bit a front of the figure behind, right? I have to ask myself, what tools are available to me in order to create that separation? I want to show foreground, middle ground, and background. And right now, when I looked at it, I understood that this hand, visually, this hand, it's behind his shoulder because there's an overlap. It's fingers on the top, that's a foreground, shoulder is a middle ground, and his shoulder, it's a background. If this would be just a painting, right? Let's make a fragment out of a fragment. Oh God, it's getting a little bit too complicated. But bear with me. So that would be foreground, middle ground, background. I separated with the shapes. I separated it with the colors. I separated it with lines and also overlap. Another thing that I am going to do and use, I have it in mind, I'm going to also use atmospheric perspective. What is atmospheric perspective? We talked about this, but just a quick reminder, something that is closer to me, it's in focus, something that is further in the way, it's out of my focus. And what does that mean? That basically means that when you look into distance on mountains, you see the values very close to each other, and they're kind of cooler in nature compared to something that is in front of us, which is kind of warmer and sharper. I know that his shoulder, they are not mountains that are, 100 kilometers away from me, but I can still use that idea because our brain is think about this in these terms kind of natively, because that's what we see all the time. Everything that is farther away from me, it's out of a focus. I really have to squint my eyes and look at it, try to, sharpen the image. Our natural zoom lens is that we get closer to things, so we see we see it clearer. So when I'm looking at the shoulders, this shoulder, it's front of this shoulder. Therefore, this needs to, recede in the back a little bit more. That means that value between or shape, or actually, I'm sorry, not shape. The edge here is a little sharper than the edge right here. And when I say edge, I mean that the value of shoulder on the figure on the right side, it's closer to the value of a background. So they kind of almost blend together. And you would be surprised how close in value you get. And still our eye from the distance is going to pick up the difference between values. That's when we think about a tonal hierarchy. There is also a colorist idea that we can have these two with the same tone, but we will change the temperature or hue, if you like. But we can keep very close hues as well. We can keep the same tone. We can shift the temperature. That means that this is going to be slightly cooler, and this is going to be slightly warmer. That's very simplified idea of what colorists work with. As far as I can tell, I'm pretty sure that I'm pretty sure painters that spend years of studying and experimenting with colors and shifts between temperatures, they have a way better understanding of this. But for me and for purposes of what I'm doing, this is as close to truth about the color and tone and the differences and similarities. This is as close as I could get at this point of my endeavor, of my own journey for painting. So I realized that I took the shape, or actually I thought of the shape of this figure, and I compared the height, the width, and I realized that okay, this has like that classical canon. Somewhere around 8 heads all the way down. I'm not going to get into that, but what I could not see before I put this little Eye of Sauron here was that this line, it's not creating overlap, but rather instead of being one thing behind another, I'm trying to on the camera do it with my hands, in order to one thing being behind another, I created this, that they are next to each other. And I flattened the image. Rather than just moving it back and behind, I flattened the image. The easier way is that instead of being one figure behind another, I just put them next to each other, because this width corresponds with his actual width. This width corresponds with his actual width, and it's very close on the size. When I'm looking at it, it's probably the same size. It's probably the same size. My brain is just really pushing me and driving me crazy with this. It's exactly the same size, right? And I will, you know what, to prove it, I will just grab a ruler, because it's driving me crazy what I created here. Is it somewhere here? This is shoulder. Okay, well, I am half a centimeter off between exactly the same size between here and here. And it's only because I could not really measure exactly where I want to be, but our eye will fill distance from here to here to exactly the half. That's our eye, our brain is going to do that to simplify the information. So I was not able to create the overlap. I tried, and for those of you who remember from previous painting this course videos, is that I was really and I created the little shape here, the space, to show that they are not touching to each other, and I did not clearly understand what the problem is. I could see it only after a couple days, and that's the reason why why I didn't put out any video, because I didn't know what to do. I was stuck. My work in the studio, it's not only that I come in, I wish it could be like that it's so smooth, that I come into the studio, I sit next to the palette and I start painting. That's maybe for people that, paint from life, that you set up your beautiful still life, you have it beautifully set up, and everything is already resolved in that setup. You resolve all the compositions, you did sketches, and you're right now sitting, and I don't want to say that you're copying what you see, but you're translating that information. It's already here. Everything is there in that still life. I don't work with the life models because I don't have them right now. I don't have the costumes. I don't have all the equipment that they're holding. Everything is from ahead, and some reference pictures that I found on the internet. Those are not reference photographs, those are reference paintings. I don't really like to copy from photographs. And I also have some other sketches that I told you, I have a sketch there, I have another sketch there, and I have a couple of them behind the camera, so I can always look at them and think about it. Even though I'm looking at the camera right now, they are behind in my cone of vision. So I went through the checklist, and I found out that this diagonal, this shape right here, it's probably the same square footage than this shape right here. So what I'm talking about is the shape. When we would take the shape of this blue part, some of these blue parts on this side are probably equal to some of these blue parts right here on the top. That's what I'm trying to say, which is extremely annoying and repetitive. And I was not able to see it because I had nothing to compare with. I placed this here and it was immediate. Oh, one half, second half. I've been painting since, I don't know, 2012, 2013, 2014, probably 10 years. After 10 years, I will make such a elementary mistake? Yes, unfortunately, yes. And you might have the same problems that I do. And the reason why I'm saying it, the reason why I'm showing it is that there is a way to solve it. I had to, but it took time. I had to invest myself into it. I had to postulate, I had to imagine, I have to resketch, I had to switch, I have to look through the books. And I'm always mentioning the same books. I go over the same people or same artists or same painters or same masters. I'm ready to say the same masters over and over again. I know these books by heart. If you ask me on what page is this and this picture, I will tell you the page because I've seen it so many times. I'm looking at this every day, never ending, never stopping. So what I'm trying to say is that it's not something that you are simply born with and that's your talent. For me, it's not a talent. I simply come to studio, look at the painting, struggle with myself, asking myself all the time, why are you doing this? Just go and find yourself a proper job as my history teacher told me once. And I think that that's something that every painter needs to have. At least classical figurative painter, it's that persistence. So yesterday I did nothing. 2 days ago I did nothing. 3 days ago I did nothing physically with the paint. However, my brain was working. I was analyzing, I was moving forward, I was creating a different scenarios. And that's also work. And it's actually, true to be told, it's extremely demanding because you doubt yourself on every stage through that process, and you shouldn't, and you definitely shouldn't. So, because you're gonna make mistakes, I'm making mistakes, every painter is making mistakes. If you think that John Singer Sargent didn't make mistakes, you would be foolish. And I'm sorry for saying such harsh words to you, but you would be foolish because when you look at his paintings, they are really thought through. And even people that know him and wrote about him, they said that he obsessed with that kind of a feeling of he just brushed it once and that's it, but he was overworking it underneath over and over and over again. So don't worry about it. That's, as I mentioned, that's the philosophical part of the problem, or you know, the philosophical answer to what's happening. Right now, I have to find a real physical answer to these questions. So I'm gonna grab my trusted wine charcoal because I just get so used to it that I don't even travel without it. It's in my pockets. It's crazy. My fingers are always black, and it's starting to look like I work in the mine, coal mine, and I'm not. And I can't even imagine how difficult that has to be. So, and what I'm going to do right now, I have to get rid of this tangent. Somehow, some way, I have to create either, and this is for this specific painting, if you want to do abstract painting, that by all means, please go for it, because I love to look at abstract paintings. I don't like to paint that way, but I really enjoy abstract painting to look at as a viewer. So right now I have to figure it out how to fix it. When I'm looking here, and this is, I think this is probably, this part right here, this is probably the biggest problem. This, I'm gonna circle it. So, you know, with the theme of Lord of the Rings, I'm gonna continue with the theme because this was the Eye of Sauron, and then suddenly Frodo showed up right here, and this is where with the ring, and this is where Sauron is looking, and this is the tangent. This is the wrong example of a tangent, and it's really annoying, and it annoys the. I wanted to use a curse word, so I'm not going to say it annoys me a lot. That's everything that you need to know. Let's analyze what is annoying. And again, I made these, if you would look closely, and I should probably bring another camera. So I did these divisions, and they are, look at this. I'm going to take a ruler, and they're exactly the same. So I created again, I wanted to, same mistake. This is really one simple line that annoys me a lot, right? So I need to work on it. I suggested here that I will just create this little triangle here. Do you know what I did? I did the same thing on the other side. How annoying is this? How annoying is this when you try to do something and then you make it simple? Not even that. Look at this distance from here to here. It's the same than from here to here. And I created a very similar triangular shape right there. What's wrong with me? Like, how can I do this to myself if I know all these things? My brain is playing tricks on me. That's not even tricks on me. My brain, it's really pushing its agenda. Simplification and boring minimalism, which is, I think, the demise of a creativity. Let's put everything into a perfect horizontals and then perfect verticals. And then maybe we put like a little square lamp right here. So we're gonna have a vertical, we're gonna have a horizontal, and we're gonna have a little square. And that's it. If we are going to, the longer, let me rephrase that, the longer that we are exposed to this kind of visual imagery, I mean minimalism, the harder for us is going to be painting like this acceptable, even, I would say, I'll go even as far as achievable. So what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to rip myself out of that minimalism, which, truth to be told, before painting, I adored, I loved it. It was so good because it's easy to process. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't create any questions. It doesn't create any how do you call them when two people are arguing? No, it's not going to be no arguments about anything. It's just a vertical and it's a horizontal, and it's a square or sphere or triangle there. Perfect. Thank you. Bye. And you can see this, and especially, and that's what bothers me the most, you can see it in architecture and in interior design. And if interior design, if we are spending more and more time inside, we are way more acceptable to see minimalist paintings than the very difficult and very unpredictable nature. And it's forcing me, my brain is forcing me, why are you trying to make this interesting and difficult if everybody wants to see it divided exactly into same parts? Because we don't want to see it exactly in the same parts. It's easier for us to look at of that sameness. Easier in terms of it's easier for us to dismiss it. So you can do, okay, two people, thank you, bye. That's not what happened to you when you enter, and I've never been there, and I'm hoping that this year I'll be able to do it and see it. When you enter the Sistine Chapel, there's no question about it. It's godly. It's almost godlike, that experience. For not only for religious people, but for people in general, because you see things that you have never seen. You saw them in nature, because nature can be so overwhelming, and then you see it man-made. I think for people that lived 600 years ago, it must have been, or 500 years ago, it must have been like seeing a cell phone for the first time. That overwhelming and overpowering. So, and I get carried away with my philosophical analysis. So, what am I going to do about this? Throw it away? Definitely, that will be the easiest part. That's what my brain wants me to do, because it's the most economical, the fastest, and it's creating a immediate end to all my struggles with painting. That's not what we want, though. That's not what I want. Another thing that I mentioned, that I really like the idea of creating, if I have this diagonal, creating with the cloth or with fabric, I could probably replicate it this way again, right? Of course I could, because that's very easy. It works here. Oh, it must work here as well. So, but careful, because there is again the same repetition. So I cannot do that. But I want to harmonize these two figures somehow or some way. So if you remember a previous video, I was talking about that. What if this figure is going from straight up and down, because it's that column, the pillar, that other parts are leaning into it, or leaning into him, or leaning onto him. I'm not sure right now. Leaning on something, doesn't matter. You get the idea. And actually, when you think about it, the answer is in the language. I'm going to push him, the whole figure, lean into diagonal, which creates harmony within a, what am I trying to say? It will create harmony within, well, this is what happens when I am too long in my own head. I know what I want to say, I don't know how to say it. It will create unify or harmonize. That's the same thing. I don't. Let me think about it. It will, and this is going to be painful to watch and even listen to. Let me just go a little bit forward and think about what I'm actually going to say. I'm going to create unity. No, I'm going to create variety within the unity. Very close to. Let's believe that I'm correct with what I'm trying to say, or actually, let's believe that it makes sense what I'm trying to say. That would be probably a better way of forming this particular, and I would probably say peculiar sentence. It's a new word that I learned, not a new one, but the one that I don't have a chance to use that often. So I will create unity and harmony, unity and variety at the same time. That means that I will harmonize them through implied lines. If this makes more sense, I believe it might. And you might ask what implied line is. Well, another video. So let's think about it. Let's do this. I'm going to offset his head compared to his feet. That means that visually you're going to see, because what we think about, we have a gravitational pull, right? So everything goes into center of the earth. That means that I have my pit of the neck under like the classical thing, or when we're walking, we're trying to move all the muscles the way that we're stable. That means that it goes all the way down. And the classical canon is that my foot is directly underneath my my head when we walk. That's just to keep the balance. Just to keep the balance. So knowing this, I can offset his head or offset his feet. That means that it creates implied visual disbalance, and I need that disbalance or not being in balance because he's leaning on to someone else. That's why I mentioned the answer is in the text, because you are leaning to some. So I have to actually make him lean, and when I make him lean, I create a diagonal. So there is going to be unifying element, and that's diagonal and diagonal of his body. Here is a diagonal of the clothes, and here is a diagonal of the body. And then I might try to create a vertical, which I started to do because I wanted to create that the difference between them. So that's something that I'm going to do. Also, since this is the same distance, and as I mentioned, it shows that they are like really pushed next to each other rather than one behind another, I might probably just push his clothes even more like this. Which would give me another moment that there is a bunching on this side, because this, if I raise one side, oh, let me do this. So I mirror him. So I raise this part, that means this part of the cloth is stretching. And if I have this right here, this would be bunching because this is where the compression starts. So I would also create the variety between edges on the opposite side. That means that I will have a straighter line against the kind of a bunched line, which when you think about it the same way when we have a contrapposto, they always, when you look at the masters, they have one complex line and one very straightforward. So we see the difference between them. Master of this, you're gonna laugh, Rembrandt. I know that you guys knew that I'm going to say Rembrandt because he has answer to everything when it comes to painting. I have to find where is he wrong yet. And I'm looking forward to that day because if I figured it out and I can implement into my work on top of what he's already done, I might push the boundary a little bit. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create this, but I have to be careful because check this out. I have predisposition to certain angles, and it again come from the physique of my body. So it's easy for me to look at like this and do a nice line, and I did exactly the same direction right here. What did I create? I created again the same thing, repetition. My brain and my body again working against me and want to really, really, really annoy me. But it wants to really annoy me. And another thing is that, check this out. I place this line right here, and this, you see this line right here, maybe you don't, they're very close to each other. So I would create this and this, again, the same thing, the same distance. I don't know if I wanted to do this on purpose, I would not be able to. I have no idea how am I doing this. And I can continue because I have again, like this distance, this distance, this distance, and this part right here, they're again the same. I don't know how am I doing it. How am I able to do this? I have no idea. So let's maybe create kind of a gradation of these lines. That means that I have this one, I have this one, I have this one, I have here. So I would create that kind of a, it's going to be proportionally, it's not going to be same. So these are not going to be, halves in the middle and then quarters in the middle of the halves. That's so many words. And I said just really nothing. So let's find the beautiful shape for this. And if you are actually drawing together with me and you're listening, or maybe some of you are watching, check your drawing, check your painting, check your artwork right now, immediately, to make sure that you are not making over and over throughout your portfolio the same mistakes. Because maybe you did not realize that, but professionals and professional painters, they will see it immediately. They might not be able to paint it better than you, but they will see immediately these problems with the composition. They might be even behind you in terms of recognizing it, or actually not recognizing it. They will recognize it, but they will not be able to tell you how to fix it because they are using the same thing that I do, which is kind of a gut feeling that, oh, this is wrong, I should probably change it. So what if I just put it right here? And then, no, because right now I'm creating kind of a female hourglass shaped body, which would, it's already multiple people told me that that's a female, so I have to make him more manly, because those were two brothers. So what can I do here? Maybe I definitely have to, and again, this and this is the yellow part, and I start that line right into middle. I don't know how. It's gonna haunt me. It's gonna haunt me everywhere. And you know what? There is another a level to this misery, is that when you have a lot of shapes everywhere, you always going to fit into some similarities. So don't really get overworked with this, because not everything has to be in a different spot and in a different position. So I have this. So maybe this should be straight, and I should go straight from here as well. Maybe I should do that. Mm-hmm. If I keep it like this. I should probably shut up for a second, because I talk too much. And you guys want to draw or paint, and I am not giving you the opportunity to do that. Okay, this needs to go a little bit more out right here. Noise. Maybe right in the middle here, I could create like an overlap of the fabric. Of course, I make it in the middle. So there is a stretching that's happening right here, and there is a okay. I remember. Maybe I could give him a pouch right here. That might work. This might really work. Let me just maybe hit it with the paint a little bit. That might actually help. And right now I'm taking a lot of time with mixing my color, even though it's just a mark, but I don't want to make this, or this color that I have right here or here. I want to find the really nice kind of a blend between this, so it fits nicely. So it's not going to stick out, but also it's not going to disappear or overpowered. It's just a really nice kind of a balance that I'm trying to find. And I'm using a little bit of idea of tonalists, a little bit of ideas of colorists, and I'm right now mixing the colors, mixing this color in a specific way that I like to work with. And I'm color checking. I'm asking myself if I like or dislike this kind of value, hue, and saturation. I would like to have it little more saturated. So I'm adding a little bit of saturation and a little bit of warmth to it. Well, this might work. This might work. And again, I'm not going to be afraid to place the color down, because if I do not like it, I can always repaint it. And I'm going to step back and I'm going to ask myself if this works or it does not work. And I think it works. And I really think it works. Even though the color that I placed down might look greenish on your screen, if I mix this color right here, it would be way too overpowering, because I have a yellow here, I have a kind of brownish greenish here, I have all sorts of colors happening right here. I have a blue here, so I had to adjust the color with the surrounding. That's why I worked way harder with the palette, because I had kind of these. I in my head, I had these ideas already kind of fleshed out about the shape and whatnot. So I focused solely on execution and the right hue. And I'm adding a little bit more warmth just to get it a variation within the shape. And I'm using a lot of paint, or actually not a lot of paint. I am playing with that kind of a dry brush, and I'm trying to make it a little softer, that edge, because that edge on the figure on the right side is the farthest from us. So I'm using him as a foreground, and this edge is the closest to us, and him as a background, or actually him as a middle ground, and this is the farthest from us, that edge. Let me check the mirror. Way better. Way better. I'm going to sneeze. Don't get. Excuse me. So I'm kind of satisfied with this, and I have to check right now if I have to figure it out, this part. So I'm going to grab a little brighter color and warmer, and I'm just going to scumble on top of it. This is maybe too bright. Too bright, too warm, very unreal, unnatural, kind of out of a tube paint. Possible to paint with, not really. In my case though, so I'm going to adjust it a little bit. This one already dried. This is or is this just a little bit? So I moved it a little bit towards the green. But I need to lighten make the value a little lighter. But I want to keep it really saturated, nice and saturated. Let's try that. Okay, all right, cool. Scumbling on top of it, because I already created a so I made this darker. I'm sorry, a lighter. That means that another thing that I have to do, I have to clean my brush. Another thing that I have to do, because this is this, and this, all three parts are very close to each other with value, and I want to really create the separation. So I'm going to shift, I'm going to make this a little darker, and maybe that will help me to push this a little darker. We'll see. So let me just clean my brush. Again, visual check from the distance. And I might grab a little bit of I made a little mark. Made a little mark, okay. seems like it's way too red, way too dark. So let's make it not that way. Because this definitely could be in a shadow if he's leaning towards this. But I don't want to make it too dark. Let's hit it. Let's have fun. Let's hit it. Let's just grab a little bit of this. Let's have fun. Shall we? Let's have fun, shall we? Again, rushed decision. Let's see if it pays off. And I'm softening it right now. Because I don't want to be overpowering. So I'm kind of wiping the excess paint. And because I'm working with the canvas that it's rougher, I kind of have these peaks and valleys, and well, now we're talking. Now we are talking. So what I did is that there's multiple things that I'm trying to do, and I should probably mention this before I sign off, because I have another project to work on. What I did right now, I wanted to adjust this edge, but remember what I said at the beginning, even the small part right here will influence everything. So I started changing this, and then I realized, let's move it all the way here. Let's move it all the way here. Why am I doing it? Because right now, I'm going to try to create separation between shapes. That means that if I break this shape right here into different segments, automatically, even though this is halfway through his whole body, I'm not going to have same shape with the same color, same fabrics and everything, and the same shape, because I'm adding a little bit darker value. So it not necessarily needs to be separated with, like kind of a concrete things, but we can work with the shape, with value, with temperature. We can introduce another element. I was thinking perhaps, because these are religious figures, he might have a cross right here that's going to again show the distances and kind of break those separations that I created here. So there is a lot of things to play with, and a lot of things to think about, and I am pretty sure that this is going to help to create that separation. Not I think, I know, I can see it already that it's helping. I can see it already. So there's no question about it. There's no question about it. What I need to do is to create the shadow underneath here. So it is we understand that it's overlapping, because there is too much of a close value. I'm playing with the edges, I'm playing with the shapes to make it be a little bit more readable, and it's working immediately. So step by step, one faulty idea after another, and I am by design or by default, I don't know, I am eliminating all wrong possibilities with my painting, which is not the most effective way to work, truth to be told. But I am going to bet, what I'm going to, unfortunately I already placed the bet on this strategy with my own work. So let's see if it pays off. Thank you for watching. Thank you for participating with this painting this course, and I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye.